And welcome to another Lumi Corner. With us once again, Michael Zaremsky, head of U.S. Private Banking, Bank Lumi USA, member of Investment Committee for Lumi Investment Services. Michael, good to have you back. How are you?
Great to be back, Zev. Thank you very much. And I'd like to wish everybody out there a very happy Veterans Day, particularly for all those who have served our country proudly.
And I want to compliment you because in the weeks leading up to the election, you said that no matter what, then there are going to be people disappointed on all sides, or both sides, I should say, but the economy is still robust, it's still going on a track, a great track, and you believe you've been proven right. The economy is doing well, the market is up, and despite the fact that some people are unhappy, the country is still going along on the economic trail.
Absolutely, Zev, and I think that is likely to continue.
So you think so? Based on which factors? Now, people say, "Listen, they were surprised." I heard from people saying, "Well, right after the Biden was declared president on Saturday, the markets really zoomed up." Is that because they're happy with the Biden presidency, or are there other factors also involved?
Yeah. Well, first, Zev, let me just say that the views expressed today are mine, not necessarily those of the bank. And I think one of the key things that I've tried to focus on is trying to get beyond a lot of conventional thinking. And while people are talking with frustration about the election results, in my opinion, I think we actually got a really clear election result. And that clear election result from people is gridlock. And I think the American people have decided pretty clearly that we are very much a centrist country. There are very much kind of opposing views that all hover around the middle. And while, again, at this point it does seem likely that we will have a President Biden and Democrats are likely to win the presidency, again, it's still not completely official as 4 states haven't been called and we're a week post-election, which is shocking. Republicans are very likely to hold the Senate, and the Republicans also saw pretty big gains in the House. Again, still not determined, but probably picking up 10 to 13 seats, which was completely unexpected, and that's likely to leave a very razor-thin Democratic majority in the House. In addition to that, Republicans really had some pretty sizable gains at the state level, particularly turning over some state legislatures. So you really have a situation right now where you're going to have a very divided government, a very divided population going forward, and my assessment it's going to be very difficult to guide and govern that, particularly because there's very few bipartisan policy mandates that are out there. And to my point, one of the things that I truly believe is that the government was never designed to be a smooth working process. It was always designed to be rather contentious, and therefore gridlock is, generally speaking, I think, a very positive for the country because it really prevents a lot of it prevents major policy risks from government. It prevents government overreach. And when I think about that, I go back to 1925, President Calvin Coolidge, not very often quoted, but his comment is, "The chief business of American people is business." I believe that's still true today, and I think with the divided government, with divided policy, and with the contention that we have in the government levels, it really leads to a situation where people can move forward with business. And I think that that's very positive for the economy.
Now, how important a factor was that on Monday, right after the announcement that Joe Biden will be the next president, or he's the president-elect at this moment in time, and that Pfizer announced a vaccine that's 90% effective? Did that have any bearing on the market too?
Again, my point on this, I think, is a lot of times when we talk about black swan events, we always think about black swan events as being the left tail, which is the bad side. The Pfizer news on the vaccine is kind of what I would call a black swan event on the right side. And, clearly that has changed the dynamic completely in terms of we now have what I would say a likely path forward that this whole pandemic will eventually end, abate, or peter out. We've also seen more news from some stage 3 advancements with therapeutic drugs for antibodies. And again, I think a lot of what was promised in Operation Warp Speed is starting to come to fruition with things coming to market. I've long stated that, to me, the big overarching theme that we're seeing in the market, the big mega trend, is central bank stimulus, and the suppression of interest rates is designed to punish savers, encourage investing, and get more people to put capital to work in the markets. The markets are poised to go higher all we're really waiting for is things to remove some of the barriers that have been there. So again, there was a lot of fears of the election. I think the election probably ended up about as well as anybody might have hoped with divided government. We're starting to see some of these therapeutics and vaccines and other designs coming through, which should put some limitations on COVID. Again, you're going to hear a lot of concerns about a second wave, about rising cases, in some cases the hospitalizations, but generally speaking, fatality rates are down. People are still finding ways to survive. Medical treatment is far better. So again, I think that we always focus on the negative news, but I think things are moving forward, generally speaking, in a positive direction. One of the things that we've been actively watching is some of the recovery stocks or recovery sectors. We're seeing it play out now, again, post the vaccine news from Pfizer. You start to see kind of the equal-weighted S&P 500 outpacing the regular S&P 500. So again, some of the stocks and some of the sectors that have been left behind in the work-from-home environment and the technology-led rise throughout most of the second and third quarter have started to come back as we're starting to think about what a normal economic marketplace may look like into 2021.
Michael Zaremsky, head of U.S. Private Banking, Bank Lumi USA, member of Investment Committee for Lumi Investment Services. Thank you for sharing your opinions, and I'm glad that we are on track despite what's out there. The markets are still humming, and which is so important to our economy. So thank you for your prognosis, which was correct. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Zev. Looking forward to speaking again shortly.
And we're going to be right back.